The question that I've been getting more often than not has been about my server, really. I have a very cheap and very useful server just sitting in my wardrobe. It's been sitting there for a few weeks now, and it's been running pretty much 24/7. I give it a few tasks to do. It gives me a few tasks to do, I guess. Um, I've had to rip into it a few times and reinstall the operating system countless times, but that's been fault of my own, really. Using really cheap, nasty drives for the operating system, and don't do that. That's a word of advice. Anyway, home servers. People do ask, what do you use it for? What do you do? Why would you spend all that money? I mean, why not just store your files on your PCs? I don't understand, really. I store a majority of my files on the server because I can access them anywhere. I can access them anywhere in the world. If you know how to port forward, I usually say fort port, so I'm glad I didn't fuck that up. But anyway, if you know how to port forward, then you can actually forward the ports required for network sharing, and you are able to access your network drives anywhere in the world. It's very, very useful. It's like your own cloud storage that isn't based on Google or Yahoo or whoever you're with, mega.co.nz. Well, that's quite useful. But as long as your upload speed's good enough, then sure, have at it. It's great. And it's yours. You're in control. You're in control of the computer. You're in control of everything. It's great. Another thing that I use my server for: file sharing, Minecraft server hosting, general usability. If I am using my Microsoft Surface RT, it has an ARM processor. It's not a very great device, really. It's not very fast. The battery life is great, but it can't do a lot. You can do word processing, Excel, PowerPoint, all that great stuff, but it's not good enough. I want to be able to use Dreamweaver. I want to be able to use Photoshop. I want to be able to create content on the go. So what I do is I get that Surface RT, I grab my HTC One M8, and I put up a hotspot, put this in my pocket, grab the Surface RT, go to remote desktop, and I'm able to access the processing power of this server from the Surface RT. Whether I'm at home, at school, anywhere, it's great. I mean, I'm able to edit websites like I would at home anywhere. I can even do it on my phone. In fact, I'm going to do that right now just to show you. It's amazing, really. Wait for it to initialize, of course. Still waiting. It's a bit kind of slow, really, if you're on a mobile connection. But anyway, there we go. That's accessing my home server on my Android device, and I can do that on my laptop. I can do it on my tablet. If you have a NVIDIA Shield, you can do it on that, although there's probably some kind of awesome alternative. But yeah, anyway, you can just do anything. It's great. I'm downloading The Walking Dead right now. It's just told me. They're very, very useful things, and if you build one and you have one, you will end up using it a lot. I built mine from old school computers, really. I mean, they dropped off a bunch of used Core 2 Duo, 1 gig RAM, 80 gig hard drive, piece of shit computers, really, that they didn't know what to do with, and I said, hey, I'll take them, Core 2 Duo, sure, we'll chuck it in somewhere, we'll use it for something, and yeah, grabbed a bunch of them. I've got about 5 spare motherboards in the garage, which is great if something goes wrong, and yeah, so that was all free. I put it in my my old rigs case, because no one wanted to buy that, so I just chucked it all in there. Slammed some hard drives in it over time, so it's got about 3.3 terabytes of storage. All of that's filled with music, movies, games, you name it. I've probably got a copy or can get a copy within the next few hours. It's also great if you're on a really, really slow connection like me. It's so sad. I only have like 700 kilobytes per second down speed, and I'm sorry to all of you people out there who have less than that. I know I used to have a lot less than that. I feel your pain. And yeah, it's 700 kilobytes per second down speed. Max is terrible. I mean, if you're trying to download a 40 gigabyte game on Steam or through a torrent or anything, it's going to take you ages, and you're going to have to keep your PC on. You're going to have to make sure it's, you know, still downloading. You're going to have to keep your laptop on, your phone, or whatever you're downloading it on, and that kind of sucks. Whereas with the server, you can just be like, okay, server, do this, and then you can shut down all your stuff. You can go to school, go to work, go and do whatever you want to do, and it'll just sit there at home downloading while you're not. So you can be anywhere and it will just do what you want it to do. And to make sure that it's still downloading, you can log on with your phone and see what the progress is. Oh, it's 80% done. It'll be done when I get home. Or, you know, it's a very, very useful tool. You can also host your own mail server, which I'll get into in another video. And you can host many, many, many other things. I mean, the server for pretty much any game. You can host websites, you can host just a massive, massive array of things. Even from a really shitty little server like mine. It doesn't need to be powerful, it doesn't need to be expensive, you don't need to use new parts, and they're just very, very useful. I do have another server in the garage which I will whip out pretty soon, but anyway, watch some of the following clips and you'll just get some more tips and shit, because I'll talk about my router, I'll talk about the desktop itself, and yeah, fucking servers, they're sick. Get one, build one, do something, they're fucking awesome. And if you want to build one, I'll talk you through it. If you want to set one up, I'll talk you through it. Just ask me the fucking questions and I'll answer. I love to get asked questions, alright? So, yep, awesome, have a good one, you're awesome, I'm awesome, and servers are awesome. So, yeah, great. See ya. One of the great things about home servers is that they are very minimalistic. Usually, you'll just need a network connection and a power connection. Your server doesn't need to look fancy, it just has to work. You don't need anything fancy at the front, you don't need fan controllers, you don't need LEDs. All you need is a very simplistic case, plenty of airflow, and maybe, if you're like me, a card reader. One thing that I found quite useful about this particular server is the fan controller at the top. This enables me to control the rear fan and the two front fans that cool the 5 hard drives inside. One of the most important things about setting up your home server is to make sure that you have all gigabit internal connections, whereas I unfortunately don't. My server is hooked up to the 1 gigabit connection in my router, and that really sucks because I don't get the full potential from my server. So I'm only getting about 12 megabytes a second within my internal network when I could be getting 125 if all of my ports were to be gigabit, but oh well. Alright, let's talk about hardware. Right here I have 2 gigabytes of DDR2 RAM, not very fast, not very good, but it is very cheap and easy to come by. A Core 2 Duo clocked at 1.86 GHz. It is very cold to the touch, in fact that feels like it's not even on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hard drives. There's another one down the bottom that you probably can't see. The bottom drive is a 80 gigabyte IDE drive. That one is a 150 gigabyte, 2 terabyte, 1 terabyte. Giving me quite a lot of storage for pretty much anything I need to store, which is very, very useful. I have 220mm fans in the front to cool the hard drives, and they very rarely reach above 30 degrees. Another fan at the back to exhaust all of that heat, and a very basic power supply. Basically, this entire system, apart from the case, was a repurposed old school computer. And yeah, I've given it a new lease of life, and it's been very, very good to me. Anyway, it runs very well. It's able to run Minecraft servers, obviously a file server as well with all that storage. The one drawback that I've found is that it only has 4 SATA ports. I will get another expansion for that, and hopefully I'll be able to add more drives in the future, because I'm planning to have over about 6 or maybe even 8 terabytes inside here. and maybe some more network cards, gigabit cards, I don't know. I've only spent about $50 on it so far. This case is my old case for my rig. No one wanted to buy it, so I just used it in a server. Yeah, it's a very basic system, nothing fancy at all, apart from the hard drives, and very, 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 I'm just going to bring the camera a bit closer here, a very married up SATA connection for all of these drives. Basically, my friend's power supply unit died recently when there was a bit of a fuse blow. So what I did was I cut the 3 SATA connector thing from his drive. It was non-modular, and I just plugged all of the wires from it into this Molex connector here, which goes directly into the drive. So yeah, that's the old mesh. So yeah, just stripped back the wires and shoved them in, and that connects to the 3 hard drives there, 1, 2, 3. And the other one has its own dedicated one from the old power supply, which only had support for 1, unfortunately. So yeah, that works. Works a treat, really. And yeah, 2 gig of RAM, 1.86 gigahertz Core 2 Duo. Not the fastest thing in the world, but it's very cold and it's very energy efficient. And of course I got my fan controller at the front to ramp everything up. And yeah, it sits in the cupboard, doesn't make a whole bunch of noise, and it does everything I need it to do. I will upload more videos to do with software management, and we'll see where we go from there. I'm not sure if you guys are interested, and yeah.